Doom Nation, what's up? We are back. We are here in the captain's quarters today. Skaggs and your captain, as always. And this is the Two Doom Men podcast. Thank you guys for joining in, as always. We got a hell of a day today. I was just informed like a minute ago. Today's Nancy Pelosi's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Nancy Pelosi.
So we'll be sucking them back just like you.
Have a drink for you.
Yep. Let's get into what are we talking about here today?
Today we're going to do definitely a deep dive into a couple of topics. Well, number one is immigration and the absolute disaster that's going on there.
Yep.
And we'll probably also touch on Biden's first press conference.
Another disaster.
Number two is going to be gun control and the new shooting that just happened this past Monday in Colorado. You know, mass shootings are a thing again after a year of them not existing.
Mm-hmm.
They're back, baby. They're back. Seven, and and I hate to say it that way, like joking.
Sad, but yeah.
You know, we went a year without him, and now I think it was on maybe Monday or Tuesday. So it was like Andrew Yang tweeted, 7 in the past 7 days. Say what you want. It's just very odd that they didn't exist for a year, and now they're all of a sudden back.
Yep.
So we're going to get into that and gun control and all that stuff.
So, as always, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We hope you guys enjoy the show. In the coming weeks, some things on the docket. We will be joining our buddies over at 990wbob.com next week. That's going to be the last week of April. It's the 25th today?
Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is coming out on Monday, so tomorrow, technically.
Yeah. We will be joining them on the wild side. We are excited for that. And then next week, we've always told you guys we are not experts. Do not take us for law. What we say to be honest with you, like you shouldn't. Like, we are just putting our opinions out there.
We do our best, but we are not.
Yeah. We are not experts. We have an expert. He is a legitimate expert. Our friend Nick from the PAS Report. He has an awesome podcast. Bit more refined than the two of us in here drinking whiskey and complaining about Como and Pelosi.
He's an actual college professor. He's been a contributor on Fox News before. Very intelligent guy. I'm really excited to pick his brain and talk to him, and hopefully he teaches me, a thing or two.
And hopefully he'll teach you guys something.
Yes.
Before we start, in our world, bourbon season comes to an end at the end of winter.
Sadly.
And it is now spring, and this is the last bourbon of winter. Spring and summer, for people who want to know, tequila season. So, coming episodes, maybe a doomed review. We'll hit up some tequila.
Not a bad idea. A couple tequila doomed reviews. I still cheat on tequila.
100%.
I go back and forth. I just drink. I don't
cheat on bourbon with tequila.
That is
but
true.
I cheat on tequila with bourbon.
Yeah, I put
so
the
for
same
you
way.
first, my pal.
Thank you.
There we
I love
go.
Woodford Reserve. It's one of my favorites. I gotta be honest with you. Did we do a doom review of Woodford Reserve? I don't think so.
No, we have not.
All right.
I wonder if this will burn the table. I just spilled a little bit on it.
Probably. All right. Happy birthday, Nancy Pelosi.
Yes, Nancy. Doing a couple of... I guess this is a shot for you.
She's definitely getting lit tonight. All right.
She hasn't been lit in the past 10 years. She hasn't not been lit in the past 10 years.
So, bro, I'm locked and loaded. I spent a lot of time the past couple of days doing a lot of research on these two topics. I went in.
We have our strong opinions on gun control, so I wasn't too worried about that. We're going to break up immigration a little bit. I'm going to talk about what's currently going on and how hypocritical it is. And you are going to talk about why this is such a problem. And
historically, almost.
Yeah. And you bit off. I thought you were going to bite off more than you could chew. Skaggs over here decided to inspect the CIA dealings in South America. There's got to be millions of them. So... where do you want to start?
Why don't you set the stage for what exactly is going on at the border, and then I'll get into my in-depth after.
Yes. So there isn't a crisis at the border because I'm not biased and I believe our president. Biden says there's no crisis at the border. Kamala Harris, actually, who has now been appointed to oversee immigration at the border. Was asked last week, do you have any plans to go to the border? And she laughed and said no and walked on the plane, and for now has been caught twice not saluting the Marines on the plane.
I think that laugh is a nervous tick of hers when
it might be.
She gets asked an uncomfortable question or something. She tends to nervously laugh. It's not the first time I've seen that, and it ain't going to be the last time, something tells me.
I'm just throwing that out there because
Oh yeah, I'm just saying
it's not
it's odd. The laugh
yeah.
is odd.
They're not really admitting that there is a crisis at the border, but Lindsey Graham was just down there and Ted Cruz was just down there, and they have different stories. Project Veritas, check them out at Project Veritas. Trump just congratulated them. They just won a big lawsuit against the New York Times for defamation. Look into that. We're not going to get into it right now. So Project Veritas released all these pictures of these children in the migrant camps, and everybody said, "Oh, Trump has kids in cages," and you picture an old school jail cell with the bars and kids in cages. And here we are in the Biden administration. Biden has taken control of the border. The one promise he kept is, I'm going to do the opposite of everything Trump did. Trump might have not had everything figured out, but this wasn't that big of an issue when Trump was in office. Nobody was flooding the border or anything like that. Now these places, these holding facilities, some of them are over capacity to like 700%.
Yeah, I saw
They're
that.
no longer. They have lifted all COVID restrictions on these holding facilities. You don't need to wear a mask. You don't need to socially distance. You could be at 100% capacity. There is no COVID restrictions in these immigrant facilities.
An observation I made, sadly, I saw some of the pictures of the people that are in these facilities, and they give them like those aluminum
the space blankets.
Space blankets. They were threw it over the head to toe. I guess they probably are cold, but they also are trying to use the blanket itself to like ventilate, ventilate their breathing, so they're not breathing in the the fumes other people are breathing out.
And if you haven't seen the pictures, and then there was a video I think released we're recording on Friday. You're going to hear this on Monday. So this happened like 5-6 days ago by the time you hear this. A video was released of inside the migrant camps, and everybody is just living on top of each other. If this was under the Trump administration, 10-foot tall razor wire fences would not be able to protect Donald Trump. They wouldn't be. They would burn the White House down with him in it if this happened under him. But yet, press secretary, there's no crisis at the border. Ted Cruz went down there, was strolling checking out the border, ran into a cartel member trying to smuggle people across the border. That might have been, I will say, maybe a little set up. Like, how lucky could Ted Cruz really get to get this bombshell of a story? Yeah, but it's a mess down there, and more kids. I don't want to say now than ever, but more kids in a long time have been showing up unaccompanied by, unaccompanied by their parents. And there's nothing like they could do about it. They just hold them. People are being held longer than they're supposed to. Arizona's governor, I believe, is furious with Biden because they found out that they were releasing. So the catch and release program, Trump, I kind of feel was on the right side of this. Catch and release is useless. You release them now into America instead of back to where they came from, where it should be released back to your home country. They were releasing them without court dates. So these are illegal immigrants. Fine, you don't like the term. These are people immigrating to America who came here illegally, got caught breaking the law, and then said, we're going to call you and give you a court date. These people don't have a home, anywhere to go. There's no, their number is 123-4567. They live on 123 ABC Street.
It's not logical that they could even schedule or get in touch with them maybe after.
And this is what's been going on at the border that Biden and the whole administration will not touch upon at all. And the media, I think there's some type of gag order too or whatever. That the media, I'm not 100%. I need to please fact check me on this. But I think the media is not allowed to visit
No, they're not.
the border.
This was in the press conference the other day. To the media's credit, and I hate to give them any sort of credit because
they don't deserve
there's
it.
always some nefarious thing going on behind the scenes. But they did ask, well, when are we going to get access to the migrant facilities? And Biden says, I don't know.
Yeah.
He said that basically he said along the lines of when we get everything set and back to normal,
Yeah.
you guys will be allowed in. And they asked, when is that going to be? And he says, I don't know. So it almost sounds like in his press conference, he says, well, once we fix this and it doesn't look as bad anymore, so the optics are not as bad, we'll let you guys in so you could write another couple puff pieces about it.
Exactly. And the greatest counter move to that is now I've been seeing, I don't know if he's confirmed it yet, but Trump is planning a trip to the border.
Yes.
I don't know if it's been confirmed or not, but that's going to put pressure. That's going to put a ton, because the media is going to want to follow him down there, whether they're going to demonize him or not, which is going to be interesting because he's going to walk in there and the media is going to be like, well, you created this mess. You created this. And he's like, listen, I did A, B, and C. Biden reversed A, B, and C. And this is the result of that reversal.
Yeah, let's get into that too. In the press conference, Biden straight out lied, and he said that he inherited this mess from Trump. That is 100% a complete falsehood. There is a direct correlation to as soon as Joe Biden became president, the illegal crossing numbers went skyrocketed through the roof. So no, you did not inherit this problem from President Trump. This is happening because of the difference in rhetoric. And there was even some of the reporters mentioned to Biden that a lot of these migrants are saying, like, we're coming because we feel, Joe's a nice guy and he's going to allow us in and allow the kids
push
in
over,
and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Joe's like, I want to believe that people are coming here because they think I'm such a nice guy and everything. But it's really they're really coming because of conditions in their own country. To Joe Biden's credit, he's also kind of right in that regard, but it becomes a long-term problem, short-term fix thing.
Yeah.
And the short-term fix, the Band-Aid was ripped off, and that's why so many people are coming now. The long-term problems, which I'll get into later.
Yeah.
It's just funny how he says, I inherited this problem from Trump, when that's not true. On top of the fact that one of the first things Biden did was sign executive orders undoing all of Trump's immigration rules.
Remember,
as soon as that happened, this occurred. This problem occurred.
Remember, they called Trump a dictator because he signed like 5 executive orders, maybe on like his first day or something. And to the credit of, accusing Trump, it was a lot. If you look at like every president from like the 70s going forward all the way up to like Obama, first day executive orders never really broke like 3. Obama might have had a couple, but I think Trump beat him, and that's fine. But Biden did 19 in like an hour, and then like 52 within the first week. He ran, it's the one promise he kept. He ran on the fact that I am not Trump and I'm going to do the exact opposite of Trump. And this is like my talking point on it for immigration is like, I kind of feel like we're biased. You know what I mean? Because you don't like Trump, but we could go back to several different episodes where something happened and we defended Trump together. You know what I mean? And now here we are in the Biden administration. As a Trump supporter, I don't follow the rhetoric of the election was stolen. I don't follow Trump's, I say that Biden's not the president because some sketchy, weird crap always happens with him.
You also like to troll people.
Yeah.
When I remember when the whole thing was going on, you were like, "Oh, I can't wait to tell people not my president." I'm like, yeah, but then you're being the same as people. You're like, I don't care. I'm just going to troll people.
It's fun.
Fair enough.
And but we always, for whatever reason, we ended up defending Trump, and now all we do is yell and complain over Biden.
It sounds like we're biased, right?
Right. But I sit back and I think about that, and I'm like, Trump was right, and now here we go with Biden just straight up lying, saying I inherited this. No, you reversed executive orders and numbers shot through the roof. And then, like, you can't play the blame Trump game anymore at this point. He and the Democrats or the establishment just does stuff that leads them open to being ridiculed. You know what I mean? Like, you can't tell us that Trump ruined this country for 4 years straight and then amp up everybody saying like, oh, we're going to undo what Trump did.
As soon as you undo it, it gets worse. Yeah.
this is why we defended Trump,
Mm-hmm.
because we're trying to wake people up to the nonsense.
Just reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you listen, if A, B, and C is being accomplished under my orders, and the media tells you to hate me for no other reason than I'm orange, and you come in and you do, D, E, and F, and all that falls apart and we start losing money. You know why it's working? Because the media is like, this is great. This is great.
Yeah,
Biden's doing it.
It's a big story to cover.
Biden's not even doing anything that he needs to be defended against. He's guilty. He's just, basically being, basically being caught red-handed.
Even CNN has been critical of him when like the left, when their usual talking head propaganda pieces are being critical of them, like definitely something's wrong or something went awry. In terms of like defending Trump, over the past few months, I think I've mentioned this before. It's almost like you had the turd sandwich and the giant douche, and of course, I don't like the two options I'm being fed. I don't want to be fed a turd sandwich or have to use, or a giant douche as my president, but that's it,
Right.
If there was a totally better, if Tulsi Gabbard had been the Democratic candidate against Trump, I'd have been supporting her and hitting Trump hard over everything, because there had been more of like a contrast in like right and wrong here.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, in my opinion, right was Trump and wrong was Biden, and I'm being extremely generous to Trump, saying he was right, the better choice of the two.
When you look at numbers, that's where like Trump was right and Biden's wrong. You know what I mean?
It becomes
like,
a statistical, yeah.
Not to like Trump's credit, but like you put it on paper, like
he's not
which plan are you choosing? If I could only choose these two, I'm choosing this guy's one. You know,
right? Exactly. I didn't want either of those, but this is the shit choice I'm presenting.
Funny enough, after Biden's press conference yesterday, my dad told me that he sat back and was like, I'd rather have Bernie Sanders. Like, and my dad's like a war veteran, like Republican, been a Republican for decades now. And like he sat back and he was like, Bernie Sanders would have been a better option than this.
The mainstream media always was making the point of Bernie was too old. Bernie, had the heart thing.
And now
he was too old. He was too this. He was too that. He was too this. He was too that. But
and now they can't wait to see if Biden's going to run a second term at 81.
Yep.
Because he's in such great. The wind knocked him down.
Yes.
Okay.
I gotta be honest with you, man. When the wind knocked him down thing, we had fun at his expense. Obviously, I shared the video of Trump hitting the golf balls at him. It's funny. It was a great time. We had a lot of laughs, but I did feel actually a little bit bad.
Yeah.
For Joe Biden, and I know some people are gonna be like, "How could you feel bad for that guy?"
I felt bad for him too.
I feel bad because he's an old guy that's obviously dealing with dementia in some form, the early onsets or whatever, and he's obviously being pushed to be the figurehead by powers that be in the background, and they're pressing him. This old man who's at like the end of his life, he should be in the golden years, like enjoying the final years of his life. Instead, no, Joe, they're selling it to him as you need to go in there and do be the good soldier and do what the establishment needs you to do because it's the right thing, and etc. etc. And the guy is literally deteriorating in front of our eyes.
First off, yes, it was funny. Yes, I don't really care for Joe Biden, so seeing him trip, there was this comedic humor to it. And then the viral videos made it great. The Mario Kart one and the Trump hitting the golf balls.
You have to laugh, too. That's important.
But the one thing I stated from the second I saw this video, because every part of my news feed was this was not news, okay? An old man... I don't even want to say it in that manner, but like an older gentleman fell. This is not news. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but this is the ridiculous climate that we live in, that like an old man missed a step and stumbled 3 more steps. Oh my God. Like,
listen, and that's what people tend to care about, right? Because I shared the video on our Instagram, on our Facebook of him falling down the steps and Trump hitting the golf balls at him, causing him to fall. And it was the most reached video we have ever shared.
For us, it went viral.
Two Doomed Men. Yeah. It reached over almost 9,000 people. Right? Me and you I've cut clips of the show where you make a great point, I make a great point, and we point out something extremely important, and it reaches 50,
Yeah.
200, 300 people, but you share a stupid video of an old guy falling and another guy hitting golf balls at
Yep.
him, it reaches 9,000 people.
I
So
think we just
it almost
learned how we
shows
need to
you,
run our page.
but it almost shows you where people's priorities are. They don't really care about what really matters, and that's a problem in society in general. People don't care about what really matters. They care about the meme funny videos, and I like them too. I'm not saying don't laugh at them, but you should also pay attention to the stuff that does matter.
Yeah, I mean, that was not newsworthy at all. And two, to your point before, this is an older gentleman that is being maybe forced into a very difficult position that he does not want to be in. I can't blame him, because if all the QAnon conspiracy shit is true about Joe Biden, I don't have any sympathy for him.
Yeah,
Whether the pedophilia is real, those videos are questionable as hell.
Yeah, that's true.
Whether what went on in Ukraine is real, whether what went on with Hunter Biden and this laptop is true or not, at some point he sold his soul to the devil to gain the power. And if his payday, he got his payday, and now he needs to tally up, is him at the end of his rope becoming a legitimate puppet. Then I have no sympathy for him. But when you take all the allegations away, it's an older man who is in a position that he should not be in. Obama was a young, good-looking man, and by the time he came out, he looked older than Denzel Washington.
Right. Well, the job is stressful, for most people.
Yes, but the funny thing is, Trump now, when you see him down in Florida, looks fantastic. Obama still hasn't recovered from.
No, Obama looks better, I'd say.
No, yeah, he definitely does. But shockingly, George Bush really is like, I don't remember the last time I saw him on TV, but when I saw him in his most recent interview, I was like, wow, Bush, you got old, man.
Yeah, he did. Speaking of QAnon,
I
started watching. It's not all out. I think it's episodic, and there's this HBO documentary on QAnon, and it's called Into the Storm, I think it is. And you were always the guy down the rabbit hole, and that's a lot of the
early
lore
episodes.
to it. I don't really know jack shit about QAnon besides the fact that you told me. So it's interesting to see this documentary from the standpoint of I'm starting to kind of understand what it is. I didn't even know that Q was one individual person making posts on the internet.
Yep.
I wasn't even aware that that's exactly how it worked, but now I'm starting to understand as the episode.
There's
only been 2 episodes.
There's no such thing as QAnons. There's Q, and then the people.
Q is one person.
Yes,
apparently
and then
they're not sure
are the
who
followers,
it is.
right?
Q is apparently one person who was making posts on the internet that other people were then picking up and trying to decipher.
The only thing that most people can conclude that Q is, he definitely has, if any of this is real, he or she has some, and it's not Trump. It's not Trump, and Trump was not the chosen one. It was just, he was probably chosen amongst a group of different people to, be the figurehead to disrupt the, establishment. But the one thing that people pretty much agree, Q has some level of military clearance and a long-standing place in government.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. There's only been 2 episodes of the documentary so far, and on the same side of that, at the same time, I'm skeptical of the documentary.
Well,
I
that's
know
yes.
that this is exactly what's going on.
It's just not a hit piece or something.
Right,
that's
right.
why. That's another reason why I don't want to watch it.
So at the same time, how do I know that this Q person didn't just make all this shit up?
Yeah, I mean, that's all the allegations, but if this was to be real, the big thing is always the military is the way. The military is the one who is going to save us from this. So that's why a lot of people feel that he has some type of military clearance to know what something to be able to be in contact with General Flynn, but now General Flynn's family is actually suing CNN for saying that, for defamation, saying that General Flynn is affiliate of Q and stuff like that. So it's weird.
I feel like that's what people need to do nowadays. Is when you make false statements about people, they're gonna have to follow Project Veritas' lead and sue. They get the retractors, they call them.
I think. Yeah. So this was something that I thought up of actually right before we were on the Last Slice podcast. Our buddies, Jamie, Trill, and Kenny, they got the Last Slice podcast. They invited us on last week. It's called In
DC versus MCU, I believe.
is
With
it?
the episode?
Okay, yeah.
It's episode 21.
Okay, so
Yeah.
episode 21 of the Last Slice podcast. I kind of thought of this like before we were going on. We've been on this podcast now for over a year talking about how we need to vote in better people.
Right.
You know, I don't care that the Speaker of the House is a woman. I care that the Speaker of the House is a drunk old woman. You know what I mean? Like, they could be anyone they want as long as they're qualified for the job. That is part of the problem. But something that I realized is this all starts and ends on our end, because we're not politicians. On our end, this all starts and ends with the media. The media is the virus. The media is the one who, quote unquote, brainwashes people. The media is the one that spreads this propaganda. The media is the reason we have this problem with this division with identity politics. Everything's about race because the media says
Pushing
it's
that.
about race. We need better media standpoints. We need, you know, and I guess I'm advertising for us because here's two people who try not to be biased and try and show you hypocrisy.
And the difference between us and CNN is we started off this episode and we tell you we don't know if we're right or we're not experts. You know, we lay that out for you immediately. We're just two guys talking shit here.
What CNN does,
they present themselves as the moral arbiter of truth, and they're the know everything.
They just
end
get
all be all.
They get good looking people and go read this script, and then that's the truth to you.
Right.
And it should not be this way. If people really want to go back to being normal, and I mean normal with a real swamp draining, you know, like less, there'll always be corruption.
Be a swamp, I've come to
Yeah.
learn.
But with less corruption, less of a swamp, this starts and ends with the media. And what Project Veritas is doing, good, and more people need to do it.
I agree.
The kid who, man, he was popular.
Kevin calls everybody the kid. I love it.
Yeah, the kid who was wearing the MAGA hat, and the Indian guy was the Native American man was beating the drum, and the media spun the whole story.
Colby something from the Covington school.
Yeah, the high school kid.
Yes.
So look up how much money he's made over the past year.
Shit.
He settled
tens of millions, bro.
Hundreds of millions. One of his defamation lawsuits settled for like $350 million. The kid is like 17 years old. All right.
Is a kid? Covington Sandman. Yes. Nick Sandman?
Yeah.
Yeah, $250 million lawsuit.
Okay, I was off
Nick
by
Sandman,
100.
Yeah.
But that was just one defamation lawsuit.
I get it, yeah.
He had like 9 pending.
Yeah.
So 250 million times 9.
Right. He also probably, you know, it's hard to get to pay for a lawyer and to go. You know what I mean?
Look, he has the money now. He won one.
Now
case.
you have the money, but you know, I'm sure. I don't know. Nick Sandman going to Catholic school. Family's probably a little bit better off, more well off, maybe, and they could afford a lawyer to fight that fight. If you're just a random idiot,
right.
You know what I mean? You can't.
But also on the flip side of it, when a story blows up like this, lawyers might reach out to you. Like if something goes viral and like
that is true.
Like
your case up pro bono or something.
A lawyer might be like, "This is an opportunity. Like
we can make a bajillion dollars.
Either I can make a bajillion dollars, or my clientele base will be through the roof.
Right.
And it almost pays off. And after you win the first 250 million, you're like, all right, that case was pro bono. You have 9 more.
Right.
Okay, now you need to pay me $100,000 per case. Right. Well, I have 250 million, so here you go.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree with you in principle. Yeah, people should start fighting back legally.
It's the only way, because the more people realize that they're winning that the accusee is winning these defamation lawsuits,
the more it's going to happen.
Yeah, the more you're going to realize that, oh, maybe the media is wrong. One thing that we shared it on our page was when the Washington Post retracted their statement about Trump's election phone call saying just find 11,000 more. It's insane that, you know, and I'm not justifying what he did, but like Nixon got kicked out of office because he was recording the conversations that took place and I know Watergate's much deeper than that. But like that's kind of what like blew like the case up, that he was doing the recordings in the Oval Office and stuff. Like, okay, here's a man recording his own conversations. You illegally listened to this conversation, or
Did
it
they
was
illegally?
or it was
I know they
it was leaked.
misrepresented
It was
the
leaked.
entire
Sorry,
conversation.
it was leaked, and then you spun the story. You changed the political
Right.
landscape. You accused the president of a heinous act of election interference, election fraud. Brought him up. Well, he wasn't brought up on anything for impeachment with the election. That was all the
But it
January
probably
6th
swayed
stuff.
minds. Yeah.
Yes, you swayed the minds of God knows how many people, and then you quietly retracted it and
Yeah.
apologized in a single tweet that went unnoticed.
Right. Months
That's-
later, after the that guy already lost his re-election effort.
That is not
Yeah.
how this works.
Or should. Yeah. I mean, it is how it works.
It-
That's
yeah.
what's happening, but it's not how it should work.
Right.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah. We went on a bit of tangent there.
I didn't even get my one rant in that I wanted to rant about.
About what, immigration stuff?
No,
Or-
not it
I
wasn't.
still wanna keep, I wanna
We
keep
jumped
on
into immigration
here.
so
Yeah.
fast, but you want me to do my quick rant?
Yeah, go on your rant, bro.
All right, so Captain's rant here. It'll be quick. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But have you seen what's going on in Miami?
What, spring break?
Yes. It's getting crazy down there. Now, the gang fights in the streets and all the crime, I agree, should not be happening, right?
Can I add some color to that?
Yeah.
I was in Florida in February, and I went down to Miami for a day, and I went to South Beach, and it's not really like a great spot to be anymore. It seems very dangerous since last time I was there, which was like 10 years ago.
I don't remember last time I was in Miami.
So that's just the vibe. I'm from the Bronx. I can like read
If
street
you say it's
situations.
dangerous,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like no. I mean like I could read like a environment of like a city, like a
Yeah.
street situation pretty well. And I didn't get the vibe that's a very secure area
Right.
anymore.
So the state declared there's an emergency, a statewide emergency in Miami. You shut the world down for an entire year, okay? Miami gets bad any spring break. 1988,
Right.
the year I was born, I'm pretty sure spring break was effing wild in Miami. You know what I mean? You shut the world down for a year. Not just America, not just the state. You shut the whole world down. And the first place to open up and get back to normalcy, which is the goal here, we've forgotten that, is Miami. What did you expect was going to happen? Think of it for what. Can we, as a nation going forward, just my goal for everyone, you don't even need to understand what common sense is. Just memorize the definition in the dictionary. What did you think was going to happen? Miami's crazy to begin with. You go to Miami
To get crazy.
when things are normal in your life. You go to Miami to get crazy.
Yeah.
If Miami is the first club to open up after a year-long lockdown, you are going insane.
Yeah, it's people have been repressed for a year. They need to like express they want to go crazy. They want to party. They want to get nuts. Yeah.
I always said this. When the bars open up and everything goes back to normal, if there is a imaginary date where Fauci's like, yeah, you're right, just go back to normal. And like I could tell you right now, the local bar down like where we're going to go after this podcast is going to be a shit show.
Yeah.
Every ER across America is going to be flooded with alcohol poisoning. Like they had a video. There was a video in I think London or England where like things kind of lightened up, and they were like the pubs got out of control. People were face planted in the streets, sleeping in bushes. Literally, once things go back to normal, that first Friday night,
It's gonna be nuts.
from coast to coast is going to be like a night out in Vegas with no holds bar.
Yeah, I agree.
And think of like Oregon where they legalized hallucinogens and shit. You know what I mean?
Well, that stuff you could use in the comfort of your own home,
Yeah.
at least. You know,
Yeah.
I wouldn't go to I don't know if I'd go to the bar and just be doing hallucinogens.
But after a year and a half of being locked down and repressed, and you could finally
people
go,
might.
Yeah. There is no telling what people are going to do when that day comes.
What you're trying to say is don't be surprised and outraged when you see people having a party, right? Because they weren't allowed to have a party for a year, or were chastised for trying to have a party for a year. So now that they can, they want to have a party. Listen, man, do what you want,
I'm not with the crime and the fighting that's taking place.
But
also here's the message that was sent to us last summer. we burned down Minneapolis.
That was okay.
And no one got in trouble. I get it. It was protesting. I get it. The George Floyd situation was serious, but some heinous things took place, and it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's now to the point that the state of Oregon is funding the autonomous zone.
Well, Minnesota, right? Minnesota.
Maybe
yeah,
Minnesota. Okay.
Yeah.
The government,
where George Floyd was killed.
The state,
there's an autonomous zone there.
The state government gave them $500,000 to fund an outlaw county that they just. You want to talk about an insurrection? They just took over blocks, and they said, "This is us now. It's an outlaw county, and we run this. You have no say over this." And the government was like, "Okay, here's $500,000."
I like the way you say that, outlaw county. They're
It
like
is.
desperados and cowboys going there.
They got their own rules. Cops aren't allowed in. Outlaw county.
Hey, God bless. I don't live there, so that's what you want.
Yeah, it's not my problem.
That's what you want. Go ahead.
Here's the
luck.
message. Here's the message that has been sent out there. You could just take over a 6-city square.
Good luck taking over my 6-city block.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
But I'm just saying, like, if that's the way you want to live,
yeah.
God bless.
No, that's fine.
We'll see in a few months if your whole psychological experiment works out.
But then, if we're gonna fund that, don't tell me what's going on in Miami's an emergency.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree. Right. Well, that's just the media. They're picking and choosing winners and losers.
Starts and ends with them.
Yep.
All right, let's get back into immigration.
Yes. So back into immigration. I'm going to go into a lot of depth here and a lot of detail. And when me and Chris were talking about what are we going to talk about on the next episode, we got to get into immigration and we got to get into everything. And I challenged Cap here. I said everything that the media and the politicians are always talking about is in the short term. Trump was build the wall and that'll stop people from coming over. And Joe Biden's like, well, we have, it's not my fault and this, that. And the politicians and the media, they never get into the actual nuts and bolts over why is it that so many people from South America are always trying to come to America, right? So I'm going to tell you
the CIA.
I'm going to tell you right now, right off the bat, the main reason is because obviously they are trying to get away from a shitty situation. Like, people don't want to die.
Yeah.
People don't want to live in crime, infested areas where at any moment their children could get killed.
Yeah.
And they're trying, and there's like war, civil war, and guerrilla groups attacking them and whatnot. So that's why the main reason people are trying to get the fuck out of there, right? And they're trying to come to America because, look, as much as liberals will tell you it's not, America is the best fucking place in the world. And people are trying to come here to get away from those shit situations, right? But why do those shit situations exist? And I'm going to tell you, they're because of American foreign meddling and interventionalism, the American federal government. So I already pretty much knew that this was the case, right?
Yeah.
So I tell Cap, I'm like, look, I'm going to go and look up how many times we've interfered with Southern American countries and how that's caused like instability, shitty situations and whatnot.
Rigged elections.
Yeah, rigged elections, war, like I said before. And I was absolutely shocked. And I knew it was a lot. I knew it was a lot.
Be.
I was absolutely shocked at how many times. Good.
That's only what you found.
Yeah, I know.
Think of
I know that.
the
I'm well aware
deep
of that.
CIA stuff that was never even written down or recorded.
There's so many instances of America inserting itself into Southern American affairs for the worse over the course of American history that I can't possibly talk about them all in one shot. There's legitimately thousands of scenarios where we have gotten involved in Southern American affairs. And I chose, I think 10 or 15 here.
We don't even have time to do all of that.
But they are egregious offenses. And we started, what I found out is that our meddling in Southern America goes all the way back to the 1800s. Remember, America's only been around since 1776. So that initial isolationist period of George Washington wore off pretty quickly.
But we've been watching the Pirates documentary, and meddling in the southern parts of the country has been taking place in 1700.
Yeah, but America.
No, I know. Yes,
I'm talking about.
I'm fucking around.
No, I know. I'm talking about the American federal government, not American people. Me and Chris don't meddle in Southern American affairs, and neither did Martin Luther King Jr. or any random American person over the years. So let's start. I'm gonna go rattle off here a couple of absolutely insane instances of meddling. In 1954 in Guatemala, The CIA directed an exile invasion, basically a coup d'état, after the newly elected government nationalized unused United States Fruit Company lands. So the CIA, because something happened in Guatemala, right? The new government
Yeah, they didn't
took
like the
over
new
the
president.
fruit, like fields that I guess were owned by American companies. The CIA got involved and created a coup, right? And the long-term result of the coup and that war were 200,000 people were murdered in that conflict in Guatemala. That was 1954.
Why do people want to leave Guatemala? Okay.
Destabilization. 1961. This one is famous. In Cuba, the Bay of Pigs invasion. After Castro and the communists took over, the U.S. backed a rebel Cuban invasion of the island. It was a complete disaster. It failed. A whole bunch of people died. Cuba, America have been at odds ever since. 1962 in Brazil. The new president, João Goulart, hard to pronounce, he proposed agrarian reform and the nationalization of oil. He was ousted by a United States-supported military coup. 1965, the Dominican Republic. The U.S. sends 42,000 troops to combat constitutional forces trying to regain power. As many people are aware, the Dominican Republic has a lot of crime, a lot of racism, a lot of murder, etc. To this day, has always had it since then.
All right, hold on.
Raise your hand, go ahead.
What was the first year? We're at 1965.
62. Right, 1965, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, 1965.
And what was the first year you started on?
54. It goes way, way back further than that. I just chose, 50 on.
We've, to put it in perspective, we've already talked about 1 decade of South American interference.
And those are just major events. In between all these years were
smaller major,
dozens and dozens of other instances of American interventionism. So where are we at? 65. 1973, Chile. The U.S. helps overthrow democratically elected government and installs brutal dictator Augusto Pinochet. That guy is an infamous murderer over the years. We put him there.
Yeah.
We put him. Now we hate him, but we put him there. 1980, Honduras. In an attempt to curtail the influence of left-wing movements in Central America, the Reagan administration stations thousands of troops in Honduras to train Contra right-wing rebels in their guerrilla war against Nicaragua's Sandinistas. Again,
we are now 3 decades into South American meddling.
1980, El Salvador. A civil war raging between military-led government and the leftist leader. The Reagan administration, again, offers military assistance to the authoritarian government, essentially running the war, the Reagan administration, by 1983. 1982, Guatemala. A second U.S.-backed military coup installs a new president, and that president, President Montt, is convicted of genocide in 2013 for trying to exterminate the indigenous Maya Ixil tribe.
82, 92, 12... He went 31 years before they convicted him. Okay.
And we put him there. The guy who committed genocide, we helped get him into
So now
power.
we are getting into a 40-year meddling coup.
Way more than that. Oh, yeah, in Guatemala, yeah.
But, well,
we've been, right,
what we've talked about, the points you've talked about, we're now up to 40 years.
Yes.
In
Guatemala, yeah.
Yeah. Some of the people who are listening, we're not 40 years old. So this is longer than our lives.
Longer than people's lives. Yeah. 1983, this one's pretty famous too. The United States invades Grenada, a small tiny country, and overthrows the popular government. Why? No idea. In 1989, in Panama, 27,000 U.S. soldiers invaded Panama on part of President George H.W. Bush Operation Just Cause. They always put a nice spin on everything, don't they? The invasion aims to carry out the arrest on charges of a drug trafficking Panamanian leader, very famous, Manuel Noriega, a former U.S. ally and CIA informant. We had to invade a country to remove a drug trafficking leader that we put in there.
You're also missing the fact that we didn't invade, which wasn't necessary. We didn't remove a drug trafficker until 1990. Does anybody know anything about Miami in the 70s and 80s? So he's already been running drugs for a minimum of like 20 years. Mm-hmm. This is not a short time span, people.
Yeah. Okay, now we're going to jump forward. 2009, I wanted to get some more modern stuff in here. In Honduras, the Obama-Clinton administration, Obama and Hillary Clinton, that is, they helped a right-wing coup overthrow the left-wing government by providing command operation support. That was in Honduras. And then we'll jump ahead another 10. There was so much stuff that happened in between here. We'll get into 2009 in Venezuela. I remember very clearly Trump and Pence, they were openly calling for a coup to overthrow the re-elected President Maduro, who we, I believe, also originally installed there, and he was obviously a bad guy. Okay, so that's the end of my dates. I found that the United States participated directly or indirectly in Latin American regime change more than 40 times in the last century, according to a historian called John Coatsworth. And that all is not in any way mentioning the war on drugs, which has been an absolute failure, disaster, caused Mexico to be in this state of cartel bosses and almost like you have criminals running pseudo-states within Mexico.
Isn't it amazing that the war on drugs only empowered the cartel?
Right, right. Yeah.
You know, so this is where...
all of that, dude, all of that contributed to these people living in terrible conditions where there's war, there's drugs, there's this, there's that, there's crime, and of course they want to get the fuck out of there, right? So step one for our federal government should be acknowledging that, right?
We know we can't admit any fault.
Oh, no. It's not even about that. There's nothing we could do to undo the past, right? The same thing goes for anything. But how about we take the stance of, we're not going to do that no more.
Yeah.
We're not going to get intervened, because we still are in Afghanistan and et cetera.
Biden ain't going to be the guy. Trump wasn't the guy to do that, but Biden ain't the guy to do that either.
Step one, let's stop fucking with other people, because it never works out good for them, and it's not working out good for us down the road.
But you know what that kind of means? Not that it needs to be Trump's exact policy, but that kind of means doing America first.
Yeah, but at the same time, Trump was calling also for a coup
I get
in
it.
Venezuela. It's all business as usual.
I'm just taking the name of America first. But if where we are right now, if we just put ourselves first and fixed us first,
that would inherently stop causing other problems.
Yeah. If we just worked on ourselves a little bit, we might be able to fix something.
So my criticism of Trump is, build the wall and change policies to make it harder for people to come in here. That will short-term stop people from being able to like physically cross the border or be deterred from doing so. But if you don't structurally change your policy of intervening in every single thing that happens in these countries, and it always turns out worse, this is going to be a problem for the rest of time. As long as America exists, this is going to be an issue, because we never stop fucking with these countries.
You're right. And I mean, where the conspiracies come in, I mean, you make it shitty in location A, so they come to us, and then from the establishment's point of view or the left-wing point of view, the Democrats give these immigrants everything and in return get more votes. The conspiracy that's taking place right now is Biden wants a crisis at the border, because his big deal was, and it sucks because my next point is going to make Biden's point valid. Biden wants to make a clear path to citizenship. But if he's going to make the clear path to citizenship in his head, he's going to get all those votes. So right now, he's stacking the deck in his favor. If you flood the country, and so if 11 million people were here illegally, or whatever the number was, that he was going to give a clear path to, if he gets another 11 million in, it's an extra 22 million votes.
I get that.
Well, they might not. But but the point... The problem here is
importing new voters.
You're importing new voters by effing stuff up in another country to force them here. But I'm in full agreement that you're right. The wall was short term. Trump's rhetoric was short term and a deterrent. I agree. It's a start. If you could get a handle on it in the short term, you could work on the long term. If you have some type of addiction or whatever, if you could figure out a short-term problem, it could help you build up to a long-term solution, which that takes place in any situation. But on Biden's point, making the way he's doing it, I don't agree with it, but I am in favor of making immigration, becoming a citizen, easier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing. We there's millions of coups, there's millions of military aid and all this stuff that you just read about for what is that, a 50-60 year time period?
Basically almost like a 70-year time period.
Yes.
And like I said, way before
Yes,
that too.
and these are just the famous ones that the internet talks about. There's
Other
hundreds
stuff.
of thousands of in between moments that even just if a gang was getting too big, I'm sure the CIA supplied them with guns and they take over them and then they fuck over them.
Constantly destabilize.
Yeah.
Constantly keep these countries in perpetual state of destabilization, poverty, war, etc. Because then you
Right.
could get your way.
Yeah.
You could get your way.
But with all this going on, and this will lead into the mass shootings and stuff, we always talk about the short-term solution or banning guns or whatever. We never talk about let's make it easier for people who come to this country the right way to become a citizen. You want to stop school shootings? Let's stop banning guns. Let's make schools safer. COVID was an issue for the past year, but not once did Fauci ever talk about eating healthy, taking the vitamins you might be depleting.
Sus, bro.
Yeah.
Sus. Yeah.
Exercising. Not once through the most historic pandemic in the world has ever suffered from. Not once did anybody maybe not in America, or not that I saw, no one ever influenced us to live a healthier lifestyle, boost your immune system instead of eating some imaginary burger from Burger King.
You know what's funny? There's been a lot of backlash now because like Krispy Kreme is saying if you get your vaccination, we'll give you a donut. And it's like,
if the vaccine doesn't kill you, the donut will.
Right.
Yeah,
it's like you're giving negative reinforcement for people to go do something.
Yeah.
Instead of like, here, why don't you take the vaccine and make sure you're also healthy and
Yeah.
go run a mile.
Yeah. And I mean, like, and if you're getting, let me be clear about something. I might not have faith in the vaccine. I've done plenty of stupid stuff. I like to have my drink and all that. And I'm, sketched out about what the vaccine actually includes. But if you're blindly getting injected by something, and I think the vaccine works, and I think the vaccine is going to bring us into normalcy, don't get injected by something you have no clue about for a donut.
Yeah, right. Yeah, if you're doing it for that, that's the wrong reason.
You know what I mean? Like I said, let's just, as a group of people, as a country, let's just remember the definition of common sense.
Yeah.
You don't need to have it. Just
Remember
know
it.
what the sentence behind the dictionary says with common sense. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we never back to immigration. Why aren't we? We're rewarding the people who come here illegally, and we're not rewarding the people who come here the right way.
Yeah, I agree.
And the two of us, listen, we might be white guys. You could call us, white privilege, whatever. Skaggs and I, we both have friends of multiple nationalities.
Yeah.
You're
friends with illegal people that
Yeah.
I've worked with
Yes.
before, and they're awesome people. And
Yes.
and I want them to, have some sort of way
Right.
to become a citizen.
And we know people who have came and become citizens the right way. Why is it so hard for them? Why is it such a struggle that they have to work a job and show all their tax return? The whole process that they have to go through.
Because they
It's
never
it's
get
the
to
upside
the root.
down world.
They never get to the root. They always just scream at each other of build a wall and do this and let everybody in and whatnot. They don't ever get to like the nuts and bolts, like I said, of why this is a problem and how do we fix it. President unity and healing and whatnot, for all that talk on Inauguration Day of I want to fix this and I want to bring everybody together. What would bringing people together legitimately look like if I was president, right? Well, I understand that there's this major problem of people want to come into America, and this is important to liberals to allow, to like help people, to help people that are trying to come into the country. And at the same time, it's important to Republicans and conservatives. I don't want just anybody coming into the country. So if you really want to unite people, you have to give people A, something, and you have to give people B, something, right? So if I'm the president, I'm going to say, okay, look, I understand Republicans, you want this, and liberals, you want that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue building the wall, and I'm going to continue reforming our immigration process to stop people from coming in. But at the same time, everyone who's already here, I'm going to give you a path to citizenship, right? And you're getting something, and you're getting something, right? That is how you get unity
Right.
and how you get people to work together. You're never, dude, it's impossible.
Well-
Every single person in the country doesn't believe the same
Right.
thing. So you have
The
to
problem-
you have to come to a compromise. Joe Biden says, he wants to be the president of unity, like I says, but he comes to zero compromise on any of these issues. He's just and his compromise is so bad that he's not even compromising within his own party
No.
and the left-wing progressive
Just
people.
the corporate elites.
He's just pressing the corporate Democrat DNC establishment thing down your throat, and he's not doing anything for conservatives or for the progressives.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing as the Republican I have is everyone here already gets a pass.
Right.
I don't
fair
agree
enough.
with
Go ahead.
that, but at the same time, the X million of people that are here illegally to rein everybody
Right, the
back
logistics behind capturing them and
Yeah.
transporting them and
in,
sending them back.
and making them go
Just
through the
give
process.
them a chance
Yeah.
to do it. And you say, look, everyone here, you're here, right?
Yeah.
Cold
But-
turkey now. We're
but-
cutting it off,
yes,
though.
that's-
We're full, bro.
that's
we
what
full.
I would do.
And now, going forward, no one else is
Yeah.
coming in unless you're coming in through
Armed
the
guards
new,
at the
no,
border
not even that.
opening
You're
fire.
only coming in through our new fixed
Yeah.
legal process in order to
Yeah.
come in. What is so bad about that?
Yep, in extreme X number of people, you got in, you won the lottery.
Right.
Welcome to the American dream. From this moment on, you fuck up, you pay the price.
Right.
But if you do our new improved plan, it's not going to be 10x number years for you to become an American citizen. You don't have to go through all the hardships of raising a family as an immigrant, not knowing if you're going to be able to pay your next bill or not because you don't get, the better job because you didn't have the college education. No, we're going to make it easier for you. But if we catch you hopping the border, there's nothing
that's a
we can
crime.
do for you.
And,
Like,
and at the same time, part of our new plan is also to stop
Yes.
ruining the places
Yeah.
that these people come from so that, over time, those places hopefully get better
Yeah.
and people decide to live in their own country.
If you look at, and you know what the funny thing is, you want to talk about they're basically importing voters, like we were saying before. If you look at all the border states, Texas is a huge red state. I mean, anybody, you say Texas, they're like guns and Republicans. Bush was from Texas, you know what I mean? But if you look at the border states, they're all blue. Have you ever noticed that? A lot of the border states are blue in Texas.
Texas is pretty close to being half and half. Right?
Yeah, but
Even
so
in
is New York, so I won't give it to them either.
But I'm saying but no, not necessarily. Because look at, if you want to base it off the
Texas-
election,
Texas-
Texas almost went to Biden.
Yeah,
Almost.
Texas got 42%, was at blue for 42%. New York, no, 46% was blue for Texas. So there was almost a flip. But nobody talks about New York was 42% red. All right? So I'm not going to jump around with saying we could flip that we can't flip a blue state if we could flip a red state.
I don't even
but
give
if
a fuck about flipping anything.
Yeah.
I just want the right person for the fucking
But you
job.
would think with filing in all these illegals into these states
That'd be
into these
making more
towns,
of a-
they would be making more Republicans instead of liberals. You know what I mean? You'd be voting against this if your town was directly influenced by it, but it's not. The
I
exact
don't know
opposite's
if
happening.
the, Latinos.
Oh my God!
You're right, your chair's exploding. Latinos tend to, a lot of Latinos voted for Trump and tend to be more conservative. So I don't know if this strategy is not even necessarily a good one for Biden and the Democrats, because they could be importing Republican voters.
That's the one thing that I always say. I was like, how do you know you're going to vote for Biden once they're in here?
Yeah.
Because I always said if I was an athlete, my first big speech would be F Trump. And I would have got $1 billion Nike deal.
Okay. You were close, but you weren't that close. In New York, the 60% of the votes were for Biden,
Okay.
and 37.7%.
So that was
for Trump.
at the final count. When I was watching it with you on election night, it was getting up there.
Yeah, that was a mess, though. As
well,
we
yeah.
all know.
But anyway, yeah, let's get into gun control now.
Yeah.
So to sway over to gun control, like we just said, we always talk, the government only cares about bringing people in, and we got to be the right guy to welcome everyone in and all this stuff. But we never talk about making immigration to citizenship easier. And now we transfer over to gun control. We don't talk about being more secure. We just talk about taking guns away. You know what I mean? So this week, sadly, it'll be probably a week ago now,
Monday.
when you're listening to this, there was a mass shooting in
Boulder,
Colorado. And do you even want to? Yeah, we have to.
I'm going in depth into how wrong people were about everything.
Yes,
and I got everything.
The media right away, and the Twitter blue check people, crazed white gunman, white nationalist. He has a gun. He's a Republican. Everybody was wrong and wrong and wrong. And this is...
Everyone was wrong because they don't wait for facts or the reality of a situation. They just, holy shit, this fits our narrative. Push it, sell it. What was it in Jurassic Park? Bam, you're selling it. Bam, you're selling it before you even know what you got. So, yeah, another aspect of this whole thing, which really, really I looked into and annoyed me, is Chris Murphy, my buddy Chris Murphy. He and other politicians were citing an assault weapons ban that the Boulder was trying to pass. Did you hear about this?
Refresh me.
The city of Boulder, where this shooting happened, apparently was trying to pass a local ordinance, which is like a law within the city of Boulder, banning assault weapons, right? So assault weapons, not even really a thing.
Hold on. Sorry to cut you off. For people listening, one thing I've noticed about when talking about gun control or guns to people is that the general population's understanding and knowledge on guns is next to nothing.
Low, yeah.
So I actually had a little debate that went pretty well with somebody this week where they were like, how do you know you're right? And I was like, listen, I know the basics of shooting. I've learned how to shoot. I know how to properly operate a gun. I've helped other people learn how to shoot. I'm a hunter. I own weapons. I've taken the hunting classes. I've been brought up to speed to a moderate point. I am nowhere near an expert, but I am slightly above the basic understandings of what guns do.
You don't understand the mechanics of them, or the difference between this and that.
And I'll be honest with you. The time I bought my first gun, I got home and I sat back and I looked at it and I said, we have gun control all wrong. People are trying to take away guns. No, you just asked me a couple of questions that I said no to, and you gave me a gun because I passed the background check. No one prepares you for the responsibility of owning a gun. You now have, quote unquote, a death bringer at your hands at your will. There's a responsibility that you take up. And now a lot of people don't own guns, even though there's X number of millions that have bought guns in the past year. And that scares me more because people were worried during the pandemic and they ran to Dick's Sporting Goods or their local gun store and they just went, what do you have left? And the guy's like, I have this gun left. And he's like, I'll take that. You just bought a duck hunting gun to protect you and your family, and you're not helping anyone. Or you just bought a bolt-action rifle that's good for shooting deer at like 500 yards. It's not good for protecting you and your family, but you don't know that because you don't have any understanding. And I told the person, I might not be right, but I understand guns better than you do. You are a mother of X number of children, and you raised all those children to be successful adults and get married and live happy lives. You're an expert in being a good parent. You don't own a gun. You don't shoot guns. You don't know what you're talking about. So
that's, when people say assault weapons, that's those people.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as an assault rifle. AR does not stand for assault rifle.
It stands for Armalite.
Yeah. And if you take a notice, every president since Bill Clinton, minus Trump probably, has had an assault weapons ban. How come 4 to 5 presidents, Clinton, Bush, Obama, and now Biden, 4 presidents, all are banning assault weapons? if Bill Clinton banned assault weapons back in the 90s, why are we banning assault weapons
Again.
in 2021 if they're already banned? Because there's no such thing as assault rifles, assault weapons. If I throw this pen at Skaggs, it's an assault pen. You're just making up a name, and people need to understand this. You could take a scary black tactical AR-15 with the forward grip and the silencer and the scope, but I can also buy from Ruger another gun that has the same barrel length, the same barrel width, the same magazine, the same magazine capacity, the same scope, the same firing mechanism. The same firing mechanism, the same rate of fire. The only difference is mine's a wooden gun that looks like Grandpa's hunting rifle, whereas the other one looks like a mean SWAT team member's gun. Yeah. And that's the only difference.
You got to start there at least to understand what you're even talking about. There's bolt action, there's semi-automatic. There's no such thing as, normal American people can't run around and carry like an M60 machine gun, fully automatic fire.
Yeah.
The most advanced thing you're getting is a semi-automatic, one bullet at a time, shoot, and you don't have to do anything besides just pull the trigger, but one at a time.
And they bring it into, the AR-15 is more tactical, and you could shoot up basically what they're saying is you could shoot up a school or a grocery store or whatever faster when you have an AR with, a scope and a forward grip. But at the same time, you could take Grandpa's hunting shotgun and do the same amount of damage in the same amount of time. And you could also take these other rifles that are basically the same thing that just have a different wooden stock and do the same exact thing that an AR-15 can do.
You could do the same thing with a pistol.
Yes.
But see, the ultimate goal here is, in my opinion, to disarm everything, right? So they start by my opinion is I have drawn personally a line in the sand. I'm not for any more gun control, any more background checks, any more anything, because it starts with we're going to outlaw this, and we're going to introduce this new law, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. But it never ends. It never ends until they'll have completely stripped the Second Amendment of all its power, because you can't own anything. You can only own a pea shooter in your house, and you can only take it out between noon and 12:01.
And what other things that we need to what we need to understand here is there's already extensive background checks.
I'm going to get into that.
We'll get into
in the case of Boulder.
I live in New York. Yes. Colorado has
I'll get into it, don't worry. I got it all written down.
I live in New York. I've been wanting to move out. It's not happening as of yet. So I decided to get my New York pistol permit. You want more background checks? This is potentially going to take me, on paper right now, the way things are, things can change and things can speed up. I'm not saying that it's definite. Things could take me, a law-abiding citizen. I'm not buying no guns through a black market. I'm not buying any illegal
you're trying
guns.
To do it the right way.
I'm doing it. I'm a hunter. I took the classes for it. I passed the tests. I got my hunting license. I took the pistol permit class. I'm abiding by New York state law because I'm not a criminal. I'm listening to the laws. This is going to take me potentially anywhere between a full year to 3 years before I get my pistol. I have to buy my pistol before I'm licensed. So no matter how we cut this, I don't even get the newest thing on the market in New York. I get an old gun by the time I can own a pistol in the state of New York.
That New York rule always did not make any sense to me. The fact that you have to buy the gun before you get your license.
Because New York licensed the gun, not the shooter. Connecticut, the owner. Connecticut licensed the owner, not the gun.
But I'm saying, like, from a principle standpoint, that makes
no sense.
Because
New York wants to know every single gun that you own.
But even Connecticut knows every single gun that you own too. They register it. They have it down in the database.
So the one thing that I've learned is that the entire process for getting a pistol in New York is one giant deterrent.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I could call up and put this on speaker right now. And I have to get fingerprinted. I've been fingerprinted twice in my life, and not even because of I got arrested or anything. I was a Boy Scout, and I took a forensic scientist class in high school, and they fingerprinted me both times. And I've applied to multiple fire departments and police department tests, and they fingerprint you I've probably been fingerprinted 5 different times. It's on record, but I need to get fingerprinted again. And if I call up right now, the first message will be, all of our appointments are scheduled for 2021. The next available appointment will be in 2022. This is step 3 out of like a 10-step process.
Right. It's very involved. It's very detailed. It's not like the people, David Hogg saying, it shouldn't be easier to buy an AR-15 than it is to vote.
Is a complete lie.
You could, I shared it. You could vote through the mail now.
Yeah.
You can't buy an AR-15 through the mail, let alone even get an appointment for a fingerprinting.
Yeah. And so
we could sit here and vent about this all day because it's something that we care about.
Yeah. I don't even know where I started with this, but there's a lot that people don't understand.
Yeah.
It's sad that these shootings take place, but the guy from Boulder Creek was on an FBI watch list. Colorado has plenty of gun control laws. The guy still got a gun. Why? Because he's a criminal. We're not hurting the criminals here. We're hurting people like us who, if anything, would end a mass shooting before we started a mass shooting.
There's a lot of disingenuousness to everything. I'd rather people who, especially from politicians, we want universal background checks and we want to get rid of AR-15s and assault weapons. Listen, I'd rather you just say you want to get rid of the Second Amendment, right? Because they're not saying that because they know that's going to be extremely unpopular and they'll never get that to pass. That's why they're saying we got to do this, we got to do that, etc. Let's get into the nuts and bolts of Boulder because I feel like we're just screaming about things that piss us off.
After 200 plus years of having the Second Amendment, right? 1776,
Well, no. The Second Amendment came with the Constitution, which was passed later.
Okay. But it's still, I think it's over 200 years of having the Second Amendment.
Yeah, round number.
Regardless, we'll round it up to 200 plus years. The only reason the government wants to take away guns in such an extent would be because they're planning to do something that you would shoot them over. Okay?
I don't disagree with you.
So we watched,
especially nowadays.
We watched a documentary on the samurai. The man who united feudal Japan, the first thing he did when he got into power was go to every small rebelling community and disarm them. He took every weapon from every farmer or from any person who could gather enough men to stand up to any single one of his hundreds of armies, and he disarmed all of Japan. And then you know what happened after that? He had full control. He had so much control of Japan, he decided to invade China. Okay? Like, it wouldn't have happened if, you know what I'm saying?
The balance of power in human society is I have weapons and you have weapons. So who's got more?
America has never been invaded by a foreign force because not only would they be fighting, not only would they have to go through the Navy in the sea,
our extremely bloated military, but also the armed to the tooth, civilian population.
If you hit the shores of northern Florida and marched into Alabama,
all those
you got
men are
no
back.
chance.
Yeah.
I think
Admiral Yamamoto. I said this on a previous
behind
podcast.
every blade of glass?
Admiral Yamamoto himself
Blade of grass.
said, we can't invade America, like the mainland, because if we did, there'd be a rifle behind every blade of grass. That was one of the smartest generals of the Japanese Imperial Forces.
But that's the truth of it.
He knew
the truth of it. America doesn't fight wars on its own soil because you would have the farmer and the city folk, if there are any left, coming out and blasting, clapping back at the invading force.
Plus our imperialist, never-ending wars and going on the offensive and meddling in other countries' affairs. That has something to do with it, too. Like I'm saying, we're always going over to other places and breaking people's shit. But at the same time, we have a good defense.
Yeah.
We have a great offense. We're like the Indianapolis Colts with Peyton Manning. Yeah. But at the same time, we got the Patriots defense from those Super Bowl years.
7 victories. Right. Yeah. All right, so go on. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you.
That's okay. That's okay. I want to get into the nuts and bolts of exactly what happened in Boulder because there was a lot of misinformation and it wasn't fact checked by anybody. Because it's not on their side. So when this shooting happened, the left heads, as I want to start calling them, on everything, they started citing the assault weapons ban that the city of Boulder was trying to pass and was stricken down by a judge 10 days before this shooting happened, right? Blaming the NRA, saying, well, because of the NRA is evil. They backed the lawsuit trying to strike down the assault weapons ban and whatnot. The reason why the assault weapons ban was stricken down by the judge wasn't because of the NRA. It was because the state of Colorado has a law saying a locality cannot make an ordinance, which is a law that supersedes state law. This is Colorado law, whether you agree with it or not. You cannot make a law as a city that goes beyond the purview of state law. So state law is everybody can own an AR-15. You cannot, as a city, make a law saying you can't own that because that goes against Colorado state law. That's number one, right? That is why the judge struck down the case, not because of the NRA or anything like that. Number two, we don't know where the guy bought the assault rifle from. Was it in Boulder? Was it outside of Boulder? Was it in Kentucky?
Was it in the back of a van?
We don't know. That hasn't been made public information yet from the investigation. So theoretically, even if Boulder did pass this law somehow to ban assault weapons from being purchased, he could have went next door to whatever other cities next door to Boulder and bought it there and then drove over to Boulder and shot everybody. So that argument also makes no sense.
And he was on an FBI watch list.
Right. On top of the fact that, right, he was on an FBI watch list. He shouldn't have been able to buy a gun because the FBI should have done their job and checked him and figured all this out, which it seems like that is very sloppy. The FBI does not do their job, and that could be another method of preventing people or like trying to sway the public opinion. Well, we need more time. We need more time to complete these background checks. We need more time. We need more time. We can't do it in time.
While you go
Shootings
on,
are happening.
While you go on, I'm going to try and find where I found that several ex-mass shooters were on FBI watch lists, and it's like there's never been an organization that has known so much and done so little.
Yeah, and we keep arguing to give them more power and more time to do these background checks and investigations, but they're not doing them. That's like, the definition of insanity is keep arguing for the same thing over and over again and expect something to change.
This is insanity, because we could talk all day about gun control, but if this guy was already on an FBI watch list, if this guy already had issues, he already in a state like Colorado, anywhere in the state, even if the city passed these ordinances, he wouldn't have been able to buy a rifle of any sorts in the state of Colorado. So what does that mean? He bought this illegally.
No, he probably bought it legally, but the system doesn't work. The system that they're arguing for doesn't
I don't know
work.
fully if he's on an FBI watch list. I don't know if he'd be able to get it completely legally.
I have more information on Colorado. Colorado, for everything Chris Murphy is arguing for, we need universal background checks. We need this, we need that. Colorado has universal background checks. They even require private sales to go through background checks. And all firearm sales in Colorado go through the NICS system, which is the FBI's official background check method, which, again, failed in this case. So you have a politician, like I'm saying, Chris Murphy, saying this is another example of why we need universal background checks, because when we don't, mass shootings and things like this happen. This went through one of his proposed universal background checks, and it failed.
But
So
people could say now that's why we need more gun control.
Right. That is the overall goal.
Right.
You could keep,
They're letting it fail so they could get more gun control.
That is what I'm saying. You can propose we need universal background checks. Well, that didn't work. Well, we need to ban the assault rifle. Now guys start coming out and gaming the system, and they start shooting people with a pistol. Well, now we got to ban a pistol. That'll be gone. Now people are going to pick up a fucking bow and arrow. And they're going to start shooting. Well, we got to start registering. We got to start registering bow and arrow. Speaking of, you know what? This deserves a shout out too. Nick Giordano from the PAS report. He did
who will be on next week.
Yes, he did a really in-depth analysis of like the numbers of actually deaths according to like mass shooting and
cigarettes and cancer and car accidents greatly outweigh.
Let me shout him out on this because this was amazing. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Sorry. So, basically, what he's trying to do is put the numbers in perspective. So, using the CDC database, the number of firearm deaths between 2008 and 2017 averages 34,000, right? And while this number may seem high, it's misleading. So, we got to break this down, right? Let's see. 60.76% of all gun deaths are suicides, right? That's the first thing. Let's see. So if you take that, so out of the 30,000, essentially 20,837 are suicides, right? So if you take out suicides, that leads the numbers from '08 to 2017 of firearm, deaths to 13,000. The unintentional firearm deaths must also be removed, as these were accidents, like you accidentally shoot.
So
yourself.
13,000 deaths from over 9 years.
Yes.
Perspective, people.
Right.
In 9 years.
34,000 deaths total. Take out suicides. That's 20,000 deaths, right? Take out accidental deaths, right? Unintentional deaths. Like I'm cleaning my gun and I forget it's loaded and I shoot myself.
Or somebody's playing with it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's another 532 people apparently over that time, right? Again, according to FBI data, the average number of homicides by firearm is 10,387. This includes, however, deaths that were occurred for legitimate self-defense purposes. So the numbers, so the next 10,000 is firearm homicides. However, self-defense is lumped in.
You break into my house, I shoot you and kill you.
It's homicide theoretically, but you were on the right side morally, I guess you could say. This was a huge breakdown. I'll post this up for people to read.
He'll be on next week.
Yeah.
We have a great episode. Critical race theory.
So next on, he goes, you could put the number of illegal firearms deaths at 7,479, and after you break down all the categories, that leaves you with an annual number of firearm deaths of 2,908 people
For 9 years.
Yeah,
over 9 years.
Annually, but if you break it down annually, right? You understand what I'm trying to say?
So 15,000 people then, if it's 2,000 people annually for the 9-year period that they're talking about.
Right. If you're taking out all the other things that are really not gun violence. You know, we're trying to break down gun violence, and then you just happen to get killed. You kill yourself. You commit suicide.
So it's not the moral of the story is it's not this huge number that's going to make us go extinct. COVID without lying has killed more people than guns, basically.
Right. And then he puts into perspective, cigarettes last year, kill 480,000 people a year. 467 people are killed by blunt force objects, including hammers and clubs. 1,591 will be killed by stabbing each year. And the point of this all was, if you take mass shootings and put them into a number,
fraction.
I believe only 46 people last year or the year before died in a mass shooting.
Yeah.
Right? Compared to 1,500 and something died in stabbing.
Forget
you know what I mean?
Forget. Just
the mass
shootings was 400 something. Cigarette smoke was what? How many?
488,000 or something like that, right, per year.
And
it's because one is like shock. There's shock value to a mass shooting. We
advertise smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
There's no anymore, guns though. Can't. But there's no gun advertisements. Even when we're in the
there is, but not on the TV.
When we're in the most southern, we love going down south. Never seen a gun advertisement. I don't even see gun stores advertising.
Yeah. My point being, and I understand Nick's point being, is like the mass shooting thing. It's obviously like a very traumatic, like event that happens, and it's always newsworthy. So it's pointed to as this huge epidemic of this and that happening, and it sucks. Obviously, I don't want people. I hate it as a gun owner. I hate people go do mass shootings because because they kill people, but number one because the optics of the whole thing is being used almost to take our right to bear arms away.
So, speaking of Nick, and we're gonna have Nick on next week. We're talking about gun control. There was a very interesting point about this past mass shooting. And it was
rabbit hole point, or
nope, because you were in on this too. So was that the mass shooter has to be, must be, no other excuses possible, a white man.
Yeah. Yeah, we totally went right over this because of the other stuff.
Oh, we're not.
No, go.
His name, and I don't care where this man originates from. I do not care what race this man is. He did a despicable act, and I hope Colorado still has the death penalty because he deserves no less. But right away, oh, the shooter was white because the cops didn't kill him.
Yeah, they want police executions, people.
You complained all last summer because the cops are killing too many people, and now they're killing too few people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The shooter's name was Ahmed al-Aliwi Alisa. He is from Syria. He is an ISIS sympathizer. He is super anti-Trump. He actually had plans to shoot people at a Trump rally, and I don't think those plans unfold. Allegedly, he had plans to shoot people at a Trump rally, and it didn't unfold in his favor. Twitter was 100% certain that a white nationalist shot up this Boulder, Colorado grocery store. And then after we found out that he was Muslim, and we don't have problems that he was Muslim, he's just not a white guy. After we found out that he is from Syria, that he is Muslim, that he is ISIS sympathizer, which is amazing that Trump defeated ISIS, and the second Biden's back in office, ISIS is back. Okay? It's like he showed up with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People on Twitter, blue checkmark people on Twitter, were trying to say that, oh, it doesn't matter that he's from Syria, he's still white.
That is critical race theory. Whiteness is a construct that can apply to people no matter what they look like, their creed, anything.
I'm glad you said that. A construct that can apply to people. So basically, anything that the left-wing news network can blame on Trump or the right wing, or the right wing or the Republican Party. And in Biden's press conference, he said, I don't know if I'm going to run again. We might not. Did you hear him say how he's like, I don't even know if there's going to be a Republican Party. What are your plans, bro?
I didn't hear that.
Yeah. Oh man, hold on. This is. But what I'm saying is,
at the same time, people have been fed this white nationalist terrorist, narrative for the past 2 or 3 months. So of course people are going to believe that as soon as any shooting happens, it's some white nationalist terrorist. And then when they get caught with egg on their face, they've tried to basically get the story out of the news cycle. What do you got?
You ready?
Be running against former President Trump.
Oh, come on. I don't even think about it. I have no idea. I have no idea whether it'll be a Republican Party. Do you?
And do you be running against?
Do you think you'll be running against former President Trump? I have no idea. I have no idea if there'll even be a Republican Party.
I hope there's not, and I hope there's not a Democratic Party either.
There's never been a statement like that in the history of the world. But anyway.
Look, let's go on to another point. Another little tiny story that wasn't covered much over the past couple days. But Hunter Biden got into a little trouble again with his own gun issue, right? Apparently, in 2018, Hunter Biden got into an argument with his girlfriend, which I believe possibly was his brother who died's wife. I'm not sure 100%.
Or a
That could be
stripper.
fake news. Anyway, according to this story, Hunter Biden's girlfriend thought that he was going to kill her. So she took his gun and threw it into the trash in front of a store or something like that. And, they left. Later on, she comes back to try and get the gun. It wasn't there, obviously. It turns out, so that right there is an example of poor gun ownership, right? Hunter Biden, probably not the most stable guy on the planet.
Crackhead.
Right?
Crackhead. Got kicked out of the Navy for cocaine. Crackhead.
Allows his gun to be taken from him and thrown into a trash can out in public, and that is an example of poor gun ownership. Why I even give a fuck about this situation at all is because it turns out that the Secret Service went to the gun store where Hunter Biden bought that gun and tried to confiscate the purchase paperwork from them. Why would they do such a thing?
Cover it up.
They're trying to cover up the fact that he even owns this gun, right? Get it off the books. Make it so that if this gun happens to turn up in a criminal's hands and commits a murder with it, because it could be traced back to the original owner, and that's a part of gun ownership. You can't lose your gun because some other person could take it and kill somebody with it, right? They don't want this to come back to Hunter Biden, so they try to insert themselves into the situation and cover up for it, and yeah, what rules for me, but not for thee.
And what did I say?
There'll be no consequences to this either. By the way,
of
I'm
course
sorry,
not. And what did I say after I bought my first rifle when I came home and I had answered all these questions and there was a background check on me? And I said, wow, this is a huge responsibility that no one prepared me for. I'm not wrong. Here's the vice president's son at the time, now president's son. They just threw a gun in the garbage. I wouldn't even bury a gun in the ground just by the off chance a gardener mowing the lawn might fucking hit it, excuse my language, hit it, and be like, what's that? And now he has a gun. You know what I mean? Like, we're not interested in making schools, safer. We're not making schools more secure. We're interested in taking guns away from law-abiding citizens. Where we're making sure there's a background check in that you could only buy guns A and B, but God forbid if you buy C. We're making sure that your gun only holds 5 bullets instead of 6 bullets. We're doing all these little Band-Aids, but we're not making sure, do you understand what you just bought? We're not making sure, do you know how to use this? During the pandemic last year, several people approached me and are like, I want to buy a gun. I don't like what's going on in the world. I think I should. And the several people that hit me up, I kind of knew, I know for the most part who they are. I know who's more responsible, who's less responsible. And the first thing I told the responsible person and the first thing I told the irresponsible person, are you going to learn how to use it? Because I can promise you, you could buy the whatever AR-15, shotgun, handgun, however, what path you want to go down. I can promise you, if you don't learn how to use it properly, the first person that breaks into your house, you might as well attack them with a spoon, because that gun isn't going to help you out any. Like someone like me and you, I pray for whoever breaks into our homes, because they're not
I don't want that to happen. I'm not
no, I
praying for it to
don't.
happen, but
I don't, but I pray for them that they never cross our paths in this type of manner, because we are two people who, we know how to hunt, we know how to target shoot. You know what I'm saying? Like, but if you're just a random Joe Schmo buying the duck hunting gun to protect your family, you're not going to help anyone out. We're worried about what gun you can buy in what state, but we're never worried about, do you know how to use this? Do you know how to clean it? Because I could take any one of mine and clean it right now. You just spent $1,600. Do you know how to clean it? You don't? Do you know what this button does? Why do you not know what this button does?
I get your point.
I'm not yelling at you, but like,
No, I know what you're.
This is what
we're talking theoretically. Yeah.
This is, we're not just like with the immigration policy. We're only putting a Band-Aid by building a wall. Let's stop the CIA interference and overthrowing governments and putting in mass murderers. You want to stop, these mass shootings. Okay, let's make sure the people who, the law-abiding citizens, are rewarded and taught the proper way how to use these firearms, and the people who are getting them illegally are locked up underneath the jail cell, like you say, buried underneath the jail.
You're arguing for basically the, people say common sense gun reform. You're arguing for the most basic common sense stuff.
Learn how to use it. If listen, any state that you live in, you have the right to bear arms. Okay? The Second Amendment, no matter how you want to argue it, was not meant for muskets and was not meant for hunting. Trust me, every single individual who signed the Constitution.
I'm going to get into what it is actually meant for, but go ahead.
If they had the choice between their musket and the new SIG AR-15, they all would have chose the
Dude,
SIG.
back then.
Yes. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not for how many bullets do you need to kill a deer. Our forefathers didn't sign the Declaration and create the Constitution
Stop the deer from
to stop the
revolting.
deer.
Right.
They knew how much power they held. They put it in place so their predecessors could never overthrow the people. The Second Amendment is in place for when the government oversteps its boundaries.
There's a deterrent. Well, the people are pretty armed. Maybe we shouldn't step over this boundary.
Like, you gotta
or
think-
theoretically, the people could fight back.
Yes, you got to think about it. Like, the Alabama governor is like, all right, I could do A, B, and C, but if I do like X, Y, and Z, they're gonna kill me. Like, there's nothing I can do about it. Everybody has a gun. You know what I mean?
Right. It's leverage.
Yeah.
It's leverage by violence, and as much as you might not like that idea, that's life. That's human beings. We're just super fancy monkeys.
Yeah.
Instead of using fists, we use guns.
They'll
Instead of using
never
sticks, we use guns,
be the peace that you hear in the Disney stories.
There'll never be like a utopia.
No.
Yeah.
And the main reason, because they'll never be the utopia, it's not because of your next door neighbor who voted for Trump that you disagree with, and it won't be because my next door neighbor voted for Biden that we disagree with. It'll be because Trump and Biden are never going to allow that utopia to happen. That's the bottom line of it.
Well, because that would mean that everybody would be better off.
It's
and
inefficient.
They'd also be slightly less better off. It's not even like a realistic thing.
No.
I don't think for human beings as like a species, there's always going to be losers. There's always going to be winners.
You know,
the thing we're always arguing against is like a select few are always picking the winners and losers, and we should just allow things to happen naturally.
You know, my mother always is like, no, there's no aliens. There's no aliens in the universe. I don't know if there's aliens. We've talked about this. I'm sure we're going to talk about it again. Personally, if we're the only life in this galaxy, if we're the only life forms in this universe, that's sad. If you're religious, and God created all life in the universe, and he made 9 bajillion other planets in other galaxies, and there's no life anywhere in the universe except for us, he sold himself short. You know what I'm saying?
I'm interested to see how you tie this into gun control. Aliens?
No. I'm just saying, like, you know, like, if we're the only thing out here, like, this is sad. Like, there's never going to be, like, on our planet, there's never going to be this utopian peace. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe other planets and other life forms might have it, but we're not going to have it.
Seems not to be a natural trait of Earth.
We're-
Because even the dinosaurs didn't have peace. You know, they
we're,
killed each other.
we're the only species that is infatuated with killing each other. That might be like an anti-gun statement, and if you got rid of all guns, but that's the problem.
We'd bash each other and have it rocks.
Yeah. That's the other thing. You saw a comment I left on some random Facebook page, how they were saying, oh, the judge overturned in Boulder, Colorado, they overturned that gun bill. And I said it wouldn't have changed anything about this shooting. I'm pretty sure you liked it on Facebook.
Yes.
I
think so.
said any gun that is sold to anyone prior to these laws are grandfathered in, whether they meet the requirements or not. You know what I mean? So if he rejected this a week prior and he bought this 2 weeks prior, it doesn't. If you buy a gun that has A, B, and C on it an hour before a law is passed saying A, B, and C is now outlawed, your gun is grandfathered in.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing to, and that's the problem. Like, we're never not going to have guns. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, there's too many out there now.
If you passed a law is not like a magic wand and they just vanish.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot out there, right?
And that's the thing. People are so
the criminals have them illegally too. They're
Yes.
not on the books. Where even if you wanted to do like a mandatory gun confiscation and you wanted to, and you were going to know which guns to get because you have you could go like the list of registered guns. Okay, fine. You're going to get them all from the legally registered ones. But all the criminals who have these guns, they're not registered.
And
a lot of the numbers are drilled off those guns anyway.
And then how many law-abiding citizens become
in
outlaws?
the short term, right? Or right. Or,
You're just going to create more outlaws.
Criminals. Yeah.
So go on with your. I'm sorry, I keep fucking steamrolling today.
That's what a podcast
Passionate.
is about. I know. This is guns. We like guns. I wanted to talk about the actual Second Amendment, which I have right here. I have a pocket Constitution that came in when I bought my AR-15, Battle Arms Development. Really good gun, nice guys.
Is that the one that we have the 1,500 views on for the review?
No.
Oh, that's the bolt
That's
action.
the bolt action one. my point here is going to be that I saw, especially like AOC, and a lot of the my left wing Twitter people saying let me first read the Second Amendment. It's very long and it's very arduous here, so it's a long read. Hang on, where was it? I had it earlier.
Well, it's the second one, so it's after the first. Probably start at page 1.
Here it is. So, Amendment number 2, a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's it. That's the entire Second Amendment. So, you have people like AOC saying, well, she keeps trying to point out, a well-regulated militia means that it's regulated, that there's rules and there's laws and whatnot. My initial argument was, well, you're just forgetting about the second part of the statement, the right to bear arms shall not be infringed, right? What does infringement mean? You're like trampling on my rights or getting in the way of my rights. But then I decided, you know what? Why don't we actually look up what did the Founding Fathers mean by a well-regulated militia? Let me make my point here.
Yeah, go for it.
Right? So what did well-regulated mean to our Founding Fathers? Right? So I went to, you're going to be shocked by where I'm getting this from. CNN has an article piece or something that they made, right? And it's from constitutioncenter.org. CNN is a contributor. And in this entire paper here, it says, what did it mean to be well-regulated? One of the biggest challenges in interpreting a centuries-old document is that the meanings of words change or diverge. Well-regulated in the 18th century tended to be something like well-organized, well-armed, well-disciplined. It didn't mean regulation in the sense that we use it now, and that it's not about the regulatory state. There's been nuance there. It means the militia was in an effective shape to fight. So AOC, well-regulated does not mean the Second Amendment is not telling you can regulate our guns and infringe on our rights and this and that. No, it just means that the Founding Fathers wanted their militia to be in fighting shape. They wanted their people to know how to use the guns. They wanted people to have the guns, etc. That's the way it really meant. You're using wordplay here and inventing your own historical context behind it. That is not true.
The one thing that you're missing, if you take someone like AOC, or we could go up the scale of Chuck Schumer or Andrew Cuomo or Nancy Pelosi or Joe Biden, is that the only people that a well-regulated militia pose a threat to
is the federal government or the government,
is everybody who I just named.
Right. Yeah.
So they're already trampling the Constitution, a well-regulated militia. We haven't had a militia for a very long time. And the
those are all the domestic terrorists, though.
Yes,
the militia boys.
The only people that pose a threat to are the people who are in favor of gun control.
You see,
it's not a mistake that they're in favor of gun control. And if everything was fair and everything was on the up and up, and there was no corruption, and I'm not saying that there's no corruption on the right side, and you know what I mean. There's corruption through and through from the janitor that cleans your local official's office bathroom all the way up to Joe Biden. There is corruption. But the only people that are threatened by a well-regulated militia are those people. It's not a coincidence, that they don't want this. If you were in power, you would hate the one person that could take you out of power.
If you don't do your job, right?
Yeah.
Or
if everything was fair, if there was no corruption, if everything was on the up and up, they wouldn't care that a well-regulated militia is sitting outside their office, because they're not doing any. When you see these new laws and people are outraged that these new laws are coming about, I'm not upset by them, because I'm still not breaking the law.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't care that you want to do X, Y, and Z. I don't do X, Y, and Z. It's not going to affect me. Make the law. It doesn't matter. I'm never going to do that. You know what I'm saying?
What
wouldn't.
law are you talking about?
I'm just making up a theoretical one. But if I was a non-corrupt,
But you should care. You should care, because it might not. they're is that thing right or wrong?
True,
You know what I
true.
mean? Like, you don't
But-
care because it
but
doesn't
my
personally
p-
affect
right.
you, but you should care because it's personally affecting somebody
my-
else. I don't know what it is we're talking
My
about
point,
specifically,
though, right? But my point, though, is if I was the governor of New York and there was a well-regulated militia, I wouldn't be personally afraid of the well-regulated militia because I'm not doing anything
I
to
see what
rile
you
them
mean.
up
Right.
and kill me.
It's leverage.
Yeah.
All the Second Amendment is leverage. Leverage of this government that's supposed to be by, of, and for the people against that government, because our founding fathers realized, you know what, if we're going to make a government by and for the people, that doesn't mean that years down the road we could be in the same situation that we were in with Britain originally, right? So there always needs to be some leverage. Remove that leverage, the government could do. Let me be clear here, right? I was saying before, I'd rather these gun control people, AOCs, etc., to just say they want to get rid of the Second Amendment outright, because that'd be calling it what it is.
Yeah.
And when you talk about putting restrictions on and removing the Second Amendment and etc., the government's still going to have guns. The police are still going to have the guns. Only people that are going to be disarmed are normal American citizens, right?
The criminals are still going to have guns.
Why would listen? I understand murder and etc., but why would you want to give up your rights? I was making this point to you the other day. The Second Amendment is the most progressive piece of legislation that exists. It's 3 lines, and it doesn't mention race, it doesn't mention creed, it doesn't mention sex. It just says you have the right to bear arms. You, as a individual, right? So a transgender person can own a gun. A black person can own a gun. That's something that the government's terrified of, by the way. Black people with gun, legal black
No
ownership.
matter your
Ask
religion.
Noir about that one.
Yeah. But so this was something we talked about, and I think this is something we're going to start doing more. Gun control is racist.
It is. It's fucking racist.
If everything is racist, then something like gun control is racist and homophobic. You know, if the LGBT community is so attacked that we need to make more rights for them and that they are the victim, why are we disarming that community? If minority communities are rampant in crime and there's always shootings, and if all the white nationalists have all the guns, why are we going to take away guns from the minority communities to leave them defenseless from the domestic terrorists
my
of
Asian
white
American
nationalists?
friends who are getting targeted right now for whatever reason, start packing, bro.
Yeah.
See, if these people are going to target you because you're Asian, start packing, start fighting back. See
what white nationalist targets you at that point. It goes both ways. This whole cancel culture, this whole racism is a double-edged sword.
It's all bullshit.
Yes.
They're just using that to try and get their way.
And,
it's not,
I'm
it's all just
sorry,
narrative
but,
control.
Yes, but to leave these communities defenseless is, in theory, racist.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing. All the white nationalists have the guns. Then the minority communities need to legally be able to protect themselves.
Right.
You don't want them breaking the laws. That would make them a white nationalist.
Yeah. It's the rabbit hole, bro.
Yeah.
And it goes round and round, and
it's a wild time, and I don't even know where to go with it anymore.
Common sense.
Yeah, just learn the definition. Just start there. Just start
Sounds
as
like
a
a
country.
good episode name.
Yeah, just at the bare minimum, read what the dictionary says behind common sense. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. All right.
You good?
I'm good. That was
All right.
that was how deep were we here? We're an hour and 40 something in. So
All right. So before we make this 2 hours, Doom Nation, thank you as always. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We had an awesome time fucking screaming at you guys. Excuse my language. Check us out. We will soon be on 990wbob.com next Tuesday. So the day after this drops, we will be on the wild side on 990wbob.
8 p.m. Go to the website.
Yes.
Check it out.
Thank you, WBOB family. We appreciate that you've welcomed us in and want to work with us so much. Our updates air every hour on Mondays and Tuesdays. You could check us out on Instagram at 2DoomMen_. Everywhere else that Trump is banned, it is at 2DoomMen podcast. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Instagram is at 2DoomMen_podcast. Everywhere else is at 2DoomMen podcast. You can listen to us on every major network that hosts podcasts that you find your podcasts on. Our biggest one is Apple Music.
Apple Podcasts.
Apple Pod-
Yeah,
you can-
everybody's got an iPhone.
Yep.
Apple Podcasts is the easiest way to go. Listen
Yes.
to a podcast from.
And as always, our link tree on our Instagram will take you everywhere. We have a few days left for the PS5 raffle.
5 days left.
Godspeed if we can reach it.
Yeah, we still got to reach 30. We
And
anywhere
we're at
close.
like 10.
So.
Yeah, so Doom Nation.
Shout out to the people who did buy, raffle tickets.
You will be
so
getting your
far.
money back.
Yes.
Unless
we appreciate the
unless you want us to
enthusiasm.
donate it to the small business fund from Barstool.
That'll be up to you.
Yes. Thank you guys. Final words?
That's it. Later.
Adios.